Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and it's time for the 8th and final episode of the 1970s Drive-In Spectacular. And this time out, I'm going to be tackling 1979's The Dark, starring William Devane, Cathy Lee Crosby, Keenan Wynn, and Richard Jaeckel. And this is a movie, it's yet another movie that I remember seeing as a kid, and I remember it being cheesy, but yet a fun film, and I thought this was definitely something that would have played in a drive-in back in the 1970s, just based upon the type of film that it was. And unfortunately, revisiting it, I find that it's probably leaning more towards just being a bad movie than a cheesy movie, but it's definitely got some cheesy stuff, so I'm still glad to share it with you. At least so you can check it out yourself, because it is still available on DVD. I just picked it up recently, so we'll touch upon that. But there's actually a backstory to why it might be as bad as it is, or not be as good as it could be. I don't know that this would ever be an A-level picture in any reality, any sense of reality, any world. But this is a film that was directed by John Bud Cardos, who you may remember also directed Kingdom of the Spiders, which I looked at a couple of weeks back, and that's just by coincidence. I didn't even realize that he directed this film as well. But this tells the story of an alien killer who literally drops in on LA and just starts killing people, a person a night basically. And this sparks all sorts of outrage, surprisingly, all through LA. In kind of an unrealistic fashion. You have people rioting after 2 people are killed. But I guess it's the method that the killer uses to kill his victims, which is described in the film, not shown, even though the movie is rated R. There's very little gore. But his method of killing his victims is to rip their faces off, apparently. So this inspires panic, even though there are less than 5 people have been killed by this serial killer. They don't know who it is. They definitely don't know it's an alien. And in charge of the investigation is Detective Mooney, played by Richard Jaeckel. And he seems to be hounded by the father of the first victim of this killer, who seems to have some sort of backstory with Mooney. He's a character called Steve Dupree. He's an author, but he apparently used to be a cop, and his real name was Roy Warner. None of that is explained, so it's just confusing. But anyway, he takes it upon himself to kind of hound Detective Mooney and his investigation, because he wants Mooney to find the killer of his daughter. And Cathy Lee Crosby plays an aspiring reporter who decides that she wants to take this case on, the case of this killer who they call the Mangler. She wants to use this to propel her career from doing fashion pieces. She wants to do a report on the serial killer in LA. So she's trying to use it as a vehicle to move her career forward. The character, or the killer rather, the Mangler, the alien, the weird-looking thing that looks like it's wearing a Halloween mask and hiding in the shadows, is almost an afterthought in this movie, even though it propels all the action. The actual killing and the actual story of the creature is almost ignored through the entire movie. And I think that's what makes it less enjoyable, because there's very little to deal with this killer until the very end. Although there's a nice payoff at the end in terms of cheese and schlock, it's not real satisfying throughout the rest of the movie. And like I usually do with these reviews, I'll touch on some of the cheesy bits. One is William Devane's nearly expressionless performance. Aside from his scenes with Cathy Lee Crosby, he has the same smirk on his face through almost every scene he's on camera. Again, with the exception of the time that he spends on screen with Cathy Lee Crosby, who looks phenomenal in this movie. Even though she's got the big 70s hair going on, she looks great. He also wears this hideous bathrobe that is just unbelievable, even for the 70s. It's got these hexagonal pattern on it that's multicolored. It's just awful. There's a psychic link between the killer and his victims and this fortune teller that's never explained. They can see when people are going to die and how they're killed. but it's never explained at all. It's just totally random. It's just totally bizarre. Towards the end of the movie, there's a montage of Cathy Lee Crosby's character and William Devane's character walking from bar to bar, party to party, trying to track down this young actor. And if you can imagine the totally unrealistic idea of somebody walking into a party in LA in the late 70s looking for a wannabe actor who they don't know his name, they don't know where he lives, they don't know anything about him, with any hope of finding him, is just really unbelievable. But yet they do it, and they take it seriously. The actual climax of the film, though, the payoff that you wait for the entire film to get to, is worth it. And I won't spoil it, but it features what looks like the entire LA police force being shot with lasers. I won't say where those lasers come from. Overall, The Dark misfires as a movie, just in general, I think because of the production problems that it faced. Originally, when it was conceived, it was supposed to be, according to an interview on the DVD with the director, it was supposed to be about this neglected child who grows up and becomes a psycho killer. Somewhere along the lines, that got turned into a zombie movie, hence the names in the movie, the creature is actually referred to as a zombie. And then because of the post-Star Wars science fiction boom, they put these science fiction elements into it. And they made the creature an alien with just the most threadbare excuse for making him an alien. And the reason he's a killer. It makes no sense. It's just bizarre. So it doesn't lend itself to be enjoyable because it's cheesy and doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, and it's just confusing. And like I said, the whole space alien killer thing is almost an afterthought. Cathy Lee Crosby, when I was thinking about this movie, I couldn't remember anything about when I had seen it previously about her performance. She's actually not a bad actress. I mean, she doesn't have a lot to work with here, but she's not terrible. But the best performance in the film is actually given by Casey Kasem, the DJ, who you may remember from America's Top 40. He plays a police pathologist, and he's actually gives one of the better performances in the film, which gives you an idea of the level of enthusiasm of everybody else on screen. And there's a cameo from Philip Michael Thomas from Miami Vice. I shouldn't say it's a cameo. It's a very small role that he played as an up-and-coming actor. He plays a character named Cornrows. I won't spoil that scene from you, but it's pretty hilarious once you realize who is delivering the lines and the way they're delivered and what he actually says. It's hilarious. So I hate to close on a down note with the 1970s Drive-In Spectacular, but this just really was probably the worst of the movies that I've reviewed in the 8 that I've looked at over the course of the month of January. I'd have to give this a 4 out of 10. It's cheesy, yes, but it's not so enjoyable to watch. It's actually kind of boring. I know a lot of people like this movie who have fond memories of it. I question whether or not they've seen it recently because it's really kind of a chore to sit through. I will say this about the DVD, though. It looks great. It's got a great print, anamorphic widescreen. It looked great for a nearly forgotten 1979 film. There's the back of the DVD. So, I mean, give it a shot if you want to check it out, if it sounds intriguing, if you don't believe the fact that this could be as boring as it actually is. But there it is, The Dark. And that concludes the 1970s Drive-In Spectacular reviews. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little something different. Little something, something a little different. I don't know. Whatever. It's over. So in February, I'll probably have another theme going on at some point. I do want to get back into my essential movie reviews. I've got a lot of those that I need to get through to finish that up. So I might as well hit a couple of those, at least a couple of those in February. And I've got my January pickups video coming up. That'll be my next video. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and feel free to comment and rate this particular video. Thanks again.